Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Maroons and police at loggerheads over protected lands and ganja cultivation. More calls for Jamaicans to get vaccinated. And later in sports, reggae boys fall in FIFA World Rankings. I'm Shane Masters. Here are the details. Agents of the Jamaican state and the Maroon community in St. Elizabeth appear to be on a collision course. The contention relates to protected lands and the cultivation of ganja. Dwayne Anderson explains.
Armed police officers and Maroons from a compound in St. Elizabeth locked in a standoff on Wednesday.
Lower your gun! Lower your gun!
The Maroons were upset over what their Colonel Richard Curry said is the practice by rogue police officers to extort Maroon farmers for money and crops. In this video, Maroons beating drums advanced towards armed officers. In the end, no one was hurt in the confrontation.
Please exit. Please exit.
Head of the JCF's Corporate Communications Unit Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay says the operation was part of the Narcotics Division's clampdown on illegal cultivation of ganja. SSP Lindsay added that checks with the Cannabis Licensing Authority revealed that no licenses were granted for the cultivation of ganja in the area.
They destroyed approximately 3.5 acres. Then they were confronted by this group of persons who insisted that they were trespassing on their property. And things got a little intense. I would say they're confrontational. So the police, having done the risk assessment, made the judgment to abort the operation so as to de-escalate what was happening.
But Wednesday's standoff is not the only contentious issue involving the Maroons. Fingers are also being pointed at them over these signs that were recently torn down. The signs were erected in a protected area in Quickstep in St. Elizabeth. A communique obtained from a Forestry Department source said the situation in Quickstep, St. Elizabeth is brewing as Maroons say they are reclaiming all the lands they say they own, including forestry reserves. When we contacted the Environment Minister Pernell Charles Jr., he explained that the Forestry Department has had issues in the past in its reserves, but he was not aware of the most recent developments and would make checks on the situation. Attempts to get a response from the Maroon chief in Accompong proved futile. But this was a recent street meeting held by the Maroon Colonel Richard Curry in the community. He expressed his dissatisfaction about certain protection policies.
And they know how we earn for we living, yes so. You are come in a free land. If you come tell we say, you can't cut, yes so.
Yeah, you understand?
That.
No.
There should be no problem in doing what we've always done, what our ancestors have done, and what we find them now doing too, but under the efforts or the disguise of protectionism. So you come cut down and then you plant back.
Yes, man. Take long to grow.
So what about what we did plant and what about what we ancestors them did left away?
Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
Hospitalizations from the respiratory illness has reached 350, with 35 being critically ill. Active cases have now reached 7,165. Meanwhile, 14 people have died from the virus over the period February 12 to August 9. One was previously under investigation. 4 deaths were recorded in the corporate area and also in Manchester, 2 from St. James and 1 each from St. Catherine, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland and St. Anne. The death toll is now 1,268. In the meantime, 375 positive cases were recorded over the last 24 hours from 1,753 tests. Total positive cases now stands at 56,165. The positivity rate is 31.7%. More calls this afternoon for Jamaicans to become vaccinated against COVID-19. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck made the call as he addressed the commissioning of Justices of the Peace in St. Catherine on Wednesday.
The goal must be that within 2021, the latest early part of 2022, we put COVID-19 behind us.
A passionate Delroy Chuck as he addressed the commissioning of over 200 justices of the peace in St. Catherine on Wednesday. The country has been on a drive to vaccinate at least 65% of the population against the respiratory illness. However, the target is being hampered by vaccine hesitancy. Currently, almost 400,000 doses of the vaccine have been administered across the island. For the Justice Minister, that's not enough. Mr. Chuck says getting the vaccine must be looked at as something of urgency. As for those who are hesitant in taking the vaccine, he says they must follow the science.
If you get sick over the next couple of weeks or even months, you may well not have anywhere to go to because the hospital beds will be full. The field hospitals, although we're opening them up, people will have to remain there. And therefore it is absolutely urgent for people to take the vaccination, because if you do, the likelihood of you needing hospitalization is almost zero.
It's why he's imploring justices of the peace to become instrumental in the government reaching its target.
If you have not yet taken it, to go and take the vaccine. But in addition, to persuade at least 5 persons who have not taken the vaccine to do so. So at least 1,000 persons, because of my request to you, will have taken the vaccine within short order. It is available this week. So please try and do so. There might have been an excuse a few weeks ago. It wasn't available, but it is now available. So I'm urging you to go and do it.
Vashon Brown, TVJ News.
And more help is coming for Caribbean countries to inoculate their population. The Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, on Wednesday said that it will use its revolving fund to help countries in Latin America and the Caribbean procure enough vaccines to control transmission.
The region is still short of the doses needed to turn the tide of the pandemic. We need a significant influx of vaccines and a more equitable process for distributing them. There is a new opportunity to access vaccines. So with this in mind, I am pleased to announce that PAHO is offering our member states a new opportunity to access COVID-19.
And it's time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. With classes moving online due to the COVID-19 pandemic, some have turned to e-books instead of the physical textbooks. Cody and Barrett now joins us live with more on this.
Thanks, Hussein. So remember yesterday I mentioned that at least one bookstore has started to focus on e-books, given that students have not been having face-to-face classes. So with all the uncertainty about what will happen come September, are e-books now part of the new normal? And what do students and parents think about the use of e-books? I went searching for answers.
For the longest time, textbooks have been a learning companion for students from basic education to graduate school. But when the pandemic forced many schools to adapt to online learning, institutions began exploring the alternative opportunities presented by digital books or e-books. This was what one supervisor at Sangster's bookstore told us on Wednesday.
This is basically a supplementary of the book itself, but it's going more on an online base, so that they won't have to have the textbook itself. Because some persons learn better while reading from the internet, while some words would work out better for persons when they read from the textbook.
The director of the Book Industry Association of Jamaica, Latoya West Blackwood, says it's a good move.
We welcome this development. It's not a widespread thing, so it is novel in that way. And so we commend them for that, and any other member, doing something similar. A lot of members are doing different things in terms of how they provide access to e-materials or e-books.
With over 1 year of online education, some students are now digital natives, making the use of e-books more natural and familiar to them. We spoke with one student from the Manchester High School, Jaden Young, who shared his views.
I personally feel that I will better learn and take my studies more seriously because I'm more comfortable with reading from my computer. I've read a lot of PowerPoints, researches, and notes, day-to-day notes from my class, etc. And where a child is comfortable, a child will learn.
While access to internet continues to be a major challenge, some parents are skeptical.
It's okay. It's okay for people who have internet same way. That's all me have to say same way. Because it's challenging for enough of us who don't have internet.
Jamaica don't ready for hear nothing yet because right now a whole heap of kids up on the street. Sorry.
Kodian Barrett, TVJ News.
The ongoing gang feud in Granville St. James has spilled over into the business community of Montego Bay. One man was shot dead by gunmen close to the entrance of the Vista Print call center, bringing the harsh realities of the crime-riddled neighboring community into the spotlight. Kelisha Williams reports.
The sound of loud explosions echoed through the Vista Print call center in Montego Bay, St. James Tuesday afternoon, disrupting work. And when the commotion ended, the lifeless body of one man was found close to the steps of the business place. Our news center understands that the man is not an employee of Vista Print. He's been identified as 34-year-old Orion Williams, also known as Chev of Granville, a neighboring community. Eyewitnesses say he was running towards the call center after being chased by men when he was gunned down. The attack took place sometime after 2 p.m.
Camera is there, and you're going to kill a man right there. They don't care. They just want to kill him. And it's a delivery man. That means he did something really bad for someone to come and kill him right there. They've been watching him.
The entrance doors to the call center were also shattered by the impact of bullets. Employees were forced to stay inside while the officers cordoned off the crime scene. Those who were already outside were not allowed to go in. Information reaching our news center is that Williams is the latest victim of the ongoing gang feud in Granville. Records show that he was one of 2 valedictorians of a JSIF-funded behavioral change program in 2019. Why he was murdered remains unclear. But the bloodletting, which has now made its way into the streets of the business center, is fueling fears of the level of violence in the community. Williams is from Gordon Crescent in Granville. Last month, a couple was murdered on the same street, and days later, gunmen opened fire on a house, killing a woman and her 5-year-old son. The police have charged a man with that double murder.
Living here right now, it's not safe anywhere, you know? That's basically it, straightforward. You don't see it for everyone here. Yeah, no matter where you're there, you just don't see it anymore.
The police say they're carrying out their investigations, and as for the Vista Print call center, operations have resumed and employees are back on the job. Kelisha Williams, TVJ News.
In the world of finance, with the cancellation of the annual Dembi Agricultural, Industrial and Food Show for the 2nd consecutive year due to the pandemic, the Jamaica Agricultural Society JAS has been pushed into a financial crisis. The JAS used to make an annual profit of between $20 and $25 million from the Dembi show, as well as the build-up from the parish shows. Additionally, the government would usually inject between $6 and $10 million, plus money would also come from non-agricultural entities like financial institutions. With the cash no longer coming in, the JAS is facing its greatest survival challenge. Organizers says it's unlikely it will even be held next year. Stanley Motor Limited is reporting almost a 50% profit for the quarter ended June 2021. The company recorded $56 million in profits compared to the similar period last year, with $29 million, representing a net profit margin of 45%. According to the company, the increase is attributable to the increase in revenue, and it demonstrates the company's commitment to maintaining strong operational efficiency. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Kodian Barrett.
In the region, Trinidad and Tobago health authorities on Wednesday confirmed that the country registered 2 cases of the Delta variant of the coronavirus. In a statement, the Ministry of Health said that the first patient is a recently returned national who traveled to Trinidad from the United States, while the second patient traveled from Mexico, transiting through Panama and Guyana. It noted that the presence of these Delta variants were confirmed via gene sequencing. In news overseas, rockets launched towards civilians by Palestinian armed groups from the Gaza Strip in May amount to war crimes. That's according to a report from the Human Rights Watch released today. The document says that Hamas and other armed groups from the Gaza Strip launched and fired mortars toward Israeli population centers, resulting in the death of 12 and injuring dozens of others during the 11-day conflict. Human Rights Watch suggests they were, quote, deliberate attacks on civilians, end quote. And that's it for your Midday Roundup. And we now take a break here on the Midday News. When we return, Simon Preston will have your Midday Sports Report.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. The Reggae Boys slipped 5 places in the August edition of the FIFA World Rankings to 50th in the world. The fall from 45th to 50th is as a result of Jamaica's defeats to Costa Rica and the United States at the CONCACAF Gold Cup last month. Costa Rica have also leapfrogged Jamaica to be 3rd in CONCACAF and 44th in the world. This is the first time Jamaica is ranked outside of the top 3 in CONCACAF since September 2020. Jamaica still remains number 1 in the Caribbean. Mexico are 9th in the world, while the United States are 10th. The top 10 ranked teams in the world reads Belgium, Brazil, France, England, Italy, Argentina, Spain, Portugal, Mexico, and the United States. The Reggae Boys will next be in action on September 2 against Mexico in the 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. Reggae Boys Andre Blake, Corey Burke, Alvas Powell and the Philadelphia Union will face Club America of Mexico in the first leg of the semi-finals of the CONCACAF Champions League at the Azteca Stadium this evening. Kickoff is at 9 o'clock Jamaica time. The second leg is slated for September 15. The last Jamaican to play in a CONCACAF Champions League final was Andy Williams with Real Salt Lake in 2011. In the other semi-final, Monterrey clipped Cruz Azul 1-0 in the first leg on Wednesday. 4 Jamaicans were on the score sheet in the United Soccer League on Wednesday.
Kenarta Forbes' Pittsburgh Riverhounds took on Devon Speedy Williams' Miami FC, and the Riverhounds got off to a good start. Forbes, who is a veteran midfielder in the league, scored Pittsburgh's second in the 50th minute to give his side a 2-0 lead. However, a double from Williams and another from Cristiano Francois gave Miami a come-from-behind 3-2 win. Williams scored in minutes 53 and 82. Over in Alabama, Reggae Boy Junior Flemings and Nico Brett scored for Birmingham Legion in a 4-2 win over Sporting Kansas City's second team. Brett scored in the 7th minute and Flemings netted in the 81st minute. The playoffs of the USL are slated to kick off in October.
And finally, Pakistan had reached 34 for 2 after 17 overs against the West Indies before the rain came on day 1 of the first test at Sabina Park. The Caribbean side won the toss and elected to bowl first. Imran Butt and Abid Ali were the wickets to fall for the visitors for 11 and 9 respectively. Kemar Roach and Jaden Seals have taken a wicket each. The West Indies 11 reads skipper Craig Brathwaite, vice-captain Jermaine Blackwood, Kyron Powell, Nkrumah Bonner, Kyle Mears, Ruston Chase, Joshua Da Silva, Jason Holder, Kemar Roach, Jaden Seals and Jamel Warrican. The last time Pakistan toured the Caribbean for a test series was in 2017 and they won the 3-match series 3-1. And that is it for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Simon Preston. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Simon, for that Midday Sports Report. And that's a Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News on behalf of the news, sports and production teams. Good afternoon.